Hi, this is Sharon with the Career Options Resource Center at Hampshire, and I'm here to tell you about funding that's available for social justice related summer internships. So if you go to the Career Options Resource Center website and scroll down, under Find Your Path, you'll see this link for project and internship funding. So click on that, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see two links. One that's a master list of all the grants offered by Hampshire College, which is a great list to check out. But right now we're going to focus on the social justice summer grant process. So click the yellow button and you'll get to the social justice summer grant webpage. If you scroll down on the page, you'll see that there's a list of different grants that are involved in this shared application process. So as you scroll down, you'll see the different grants listed: CPSC, Charlie Richardson, Ethics and the Common Good, Global Migrations, Human Rights Fund, the James Baldwin Div 2 and Div 3 grant, Lester Mazer, Smith Barr. So it's a small group of grants, all related in some way to social justice, that you can apply for using one application. To find out if you're eligible for the grant, meaning that your internship is the right kind of internship and that it matches with the intention of the grant and that also you're at the right div level, click on the blue buttons for any of the grants to learn more. It's also a really good idea to meet with the grant contact before you apply, just to make sure that your project is a good fit, and they can also give you tips on filling out your application. If you scroll to the top of the page, you'll see the application process. If you click on the pink button, you'll see the application itself. You can scroll down to see the entire application so you can look at all the questions ahead of time. We strongly recommend that when you do your essay questions, you write them in a separate document, because even though this application will save your work if you're working on the same computer on the same browser, I don't think you should trust this to save your work. Just in case you lose it, it'd be really good to have it in a separate document. So you fill out your basic personal and academic information. It's all pretty straightforward: a summary of your proposal and describing the work for which you're seeking funding. You just basically take it step by step, answering the questions. One part that students sometimes have trouble with is the budget. Please note that the amount of grant funding that we give to any one student generally doesn't exceed $3,500. So you can apply to as many different grants that you qualify for, and we do suggest that you do that. But just know that you can't stack up grants to equal much more than $3,500. If you go down, you'll see two different sample budgets. And remember that these are only samples. So here's an example for an 8-week internship in New York, and they're budgeting for things like transportation, rent, food, and a Metro card. You may have other expenses, and some of these may not apply to you. That's okay. You don't need to have these exact types of expenses. This is just an example. And here's an example for an activist organizing project that might have different kinds of expenses for their project, like paint and fabric, wooden sticks. This is just an estimate, so the way to do this is just to visualize your internship or project and imagine all of the different steps and what it will cost. And we realize this is only an estimate, but do your best to be as realistic as possible by researching online, doing some math, and figuring out as close as possible to how much this will cost. We also ask if you have other funding to support this proposal, which is important because if we see that your budget is a lot higher than we can offer, we need to know how you plan to pull off the internship or project. Here's where we ask exactly how much you're requesting, and then there's a space for you to explain to the committee anything else we need to know about your budget or financial situation. If you scroll down, it asks you for your other experience, so things that you would normally put on a resume. And then this essay question section is where you indicate which grants you plan to apply for. So if I'm planning on applying for the Common Good Summer Internship Award and the CPSD Social Justice Scholarship Award, I would click on those two. And then I would see the essay questions just for those two grants, and I would fill out those essay questions here. If I read the eligibility requirements and realize that actually I'm not qualified for one of the grants, I can always uncheck that box and only fill out the essay for the one that I do plan to apply for. One thing to know is that whenever you apply for a grant at Hampshire or anywhere else in the world, you're required to give some sort of grant report. And so the different grants have different reporting requirements, and these are some of the possible requirements. Things like a letter of acceptance, a final report, maybe photo documentation. Each grant has its own requirements, which will be explained to you once you receive a grant and decide to accept it. But this part is just to indicate that you understand that that is part of your responsibility when you accept a grant. After you complete this application, you'll also be asked to submit the online faculty statement of support and an organization statement of support if you're working with an organization. So this is just to remind you and so that you can indicate you understand that those are also parts of the application, and I'll show you that in a second. There's an electronic signature, and then you can submit. If you submit your application, you won't be able to get it back or edit it, but if you made a really important error, you can always contact the Career Options Resource Center and we can erase your old application and you can fill out a new one. We may even be able to send you some of the information from your old application, but that's worst case scenario. So going back, here is the faculty statement of support and the organization statement of support. All you need to do is get a faculty member to say that they support your internship or project. You can send them this page and tell them to click on the yellow button, or you can click on it yourself and send them this link directly, and all they need to do is fill out this form and click submit, and it will go directly to all of the people who are doing the grant selection. Same thing with the organization statement of support. Simply click on the purple button, copy the link, and send it to them in an email and ask them to fill out that form. So one thing that's very important is that you need to actually have an internship or project in mind specifically in order to apply for this grant. Because you need a statement of support from the organization, it means that they need to be on board and you have to already have an agreement with the organization to do the internship or faculty support for a project. If you have any questions, please do contact any of the contact people for the grants, and you can always come to the Career Options Resource Center and we can try to answer your questions as well. So best of luck in both in applying and getting your internship and in applying for funding. We really try to support as many people as possible, and we know how important these projects are. The deadline is Monday, April 3rd, and once the deadline has passed, we'll try to let people know within a couple of weeks whether or not you got the funding. All right, best of luck. That's all.